Hello and welcome to this week's angling blog. Today you join me on the banks of a local pond and we're in search of silvers. So for the past couple of weeks the UK has been battered by storm after storm. It's left all the rivers in the UK bank high. Record levels have been recorded on the River Severn and the country, river wise, is in a right mess. My little pond, which you can see is also quite flooded, are places that you can come to and try and get a bite. So in contrast to the river sessions, this morning was a nice lie-in and we arrived on the bank around about midday. You can see, like most of the ponds in the UK, the banks are empty, but hopefully our nets won't be at the end. So let's make a start, take a look at the swim and the side tray. So side tray for today, some old maggots. Like I say, it's been a week or two since we've been on the river, and they've just been in the fridge, and then the odd bit of sawdust put on them. And there we've got some treasure particle hemp, just with a few tears mixed in. Nice and simple bait tray. So that's the swim that we'll be fishing today, and it is a venue that has some lovely reflections, as you can see. Blue sky, white clouds and the trees. Just going to be fishing probably 3 or 4 sections of pole in line with that pallet in front of me. I'm just going to start dripping some maggots and a bit of hemp in, and we'll make a start. So just dropping the rig in for the first cast. I've put probably half a cad pot full of maggot in and a few grains of the hemp. You can see them right up tight to the float, and there's the first bite of the day just coming on the drop. Only a small fish, but more than welcome. It looks like a tiny rudd. So just another pinch of maggot, a few grains of the hemp. You see there's 1 or 2 fish moving on the pool, so be confident of getting a bite or 2. The second put in, it's a better one. It looks like a roach. So a nice, good start. You know, 2 fish in 2 casts. But like I always say, just don't get carried away. A few maggots and a few grains of hemp. And when you're just reading that float, a lot of the bites have just come when it's been going through the water column. So just a little bit about the pond. It is a pond that I've fished since I've been a kid. Some of the staging on it that you can see, myself and my dad helped to build back when I was probably 10, 12 years old. So it is a pond that I have fished quite a lot growing up. I used to walk to it, and it did always hold a few fish. Sometimes it had the odd carp in it, and like all venues, they change over the years, and at the moment it's just a bit of a mystery what your next bite's going to be. And another small roach. What a lovely roach that is, just coming on them maggots and them grains of hemp over the top. Lovely orange colours, silver flanks and that orange eye. Makes up for the rivers being flooded just a little bit, and a nice early start. Keeping it nice and simple, a few grains of hemp, probably 5 maggots, just enough really to get a bite and not to try and overfeed. And so you never really know how many fish are in front of you, and in fishing you do always seem to get a good first reaction. You know, the fish will always respond to that bait going in straight away. So it can be hard at times to to judge just how much feed to put in, but if you'd always err on the side of caution. So I've just looked into a slightly better one, and it's no surprise that it's come when the float has made its way to the bottom. I say not massive, but great fun. Despite the storms, it is quite mild. I guess that's showing in the fact that we're getting quite a few bites straight away on the pole. And although the pond is a bit flooded today, you can see there the pegs underwater, testament to how much rain we've had. Unlike the rivers that we fish, there was no rush for the peg today, and I guess that's just a sign of the times really. As a kid, this place was always full. You got here first thing in the morning to get a peg. We are in the middle of winter, but I do pass it quite regular, and yeah, it's just a sign of how fishing has changed. Ponds like this, although full of fish, are so rarely used. So one thing I do love about fishing is how the swim can build. We've gone from some small rudd to a slightly better roach. Just feeding them few maggots and a few grains of hemp each time, and hopefully we can begin to get this better stamp more regular. Probably starting to see on the video is the weather slowly changing. You know, them clear patches in the sky are passing over, and the wind is beginning to howl a little between the trees behind us. It's not stopping the fishing. I say the fish are still biting, but how long we'll get out of it is anyone's guess. Like, the storms that we've had recently have been, what, 50, 70 mile an hour winds, and not the conditions you want to be holding even a few sections of poling. It's been a bit longer for that bite. Since that wind has got up, it has been noticeable there's not been as many fish topping, and it's taken a little bit longer to come. That when we started off, only probably an hour ago, it was quite calm, but that wind really is gusting, the trees behind are creaking, and it is noticeable how the fish are behaving different. Another fin perfect roach, really are in mint condition, even if they are ice cold. So with that wind swirling, it is making presentation a bit harder, but we do seem to get the odd gap like now. Well, we missed the net. Maybe in the summer months we'll come back on and we'll do another session on here when it's completely different and it's green and the weeds really up. But it is a place that does hold so many memories of fishing sessions when we were younger, and the enjoyment of seeing the float go under is still there. Small little rud. It has been an enjoyable, what, 2 hours, 2.5 hours on the bank, and we'll call this one the last fish of the day. Nice little pond roach to end the session on. Let's take a quick look at him. And what a lovely roach to end the session on, in mint condition. Let's take a look at that final net and see how we've done. So the vlog, when you do it weekly, can be a reflection of the fishing and this week it's been 2 hours on the bank, literally just to scratch an itch. It's going to be a short outro this week though, because as you can see the rain started behind me, and what you guys can't see behind the camera is how black them skies are. So as you can see on screen now, a few bites in a short session. Hopefully, you know, the rivers begin to drop and we can get back out on the banks of the river in the next week or two before they close. Until then, I'd like to wish you all tight lines, and I'll catch you all next week. Tight lines.